ICUs in the months of May, June and July, reaching to thousands of daily cases to now ranging between just 2 digits cases, hospitalizations and single-digit deaths. In fact, last week, there were no deaths recorded in the Sultanate for 6 consecutive days, and then yesterday it was revealed that 1 death on Friday and Saturday was recorded respectively. According to the Ministry of Health circular today for COVID-19, no deaths were recorded today, which means the total death cases in the Sultanate remains at 4,095. The national immunization drive that kick-started in the month of May is still ongoing in full swing. In fact, over 70% of citizens living in Ad-Dahira Governorate have successfully been vaccinated with 2 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. Last week, it was noted that as many as 2,810,262 people have been vaccinated against COVID-19 in Oman, with at least the first jab since the launching of the national immunization campaign until September 19, reaching 80% of the target segment. The number of those who received 2 jabs of the COVID-19 vaccine stood at 1,826,224, comprising 52%. The total number of administered doses stood at 4,636,486. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health continues vaccination target segments against COVID-19 in all governorates of the Sultanate as vaccination centers witness a good daily turnout. Yesterday, if you all remember that I mentioned that Dr. Mahmood Al-Sakiti, Director of Disease Control and Department at the General Directorate of Health Services in Ad-Dahira Governorate said, the proportion of expats who have been vaccinated in the governorate in the vilayats of Ibri, Yankul and Dhang for the first dose amounted to 63%, while the proportion of those vaccinated with the second dose was 23%. In fact, he said that the percentage of vaccinated students who received the first dose of the vaccine in schools in the vilayat of Ad-Dahira Governorate amounted to approximately 90% of the target group between the ages of 12 and 17 years, while the number of students who received the second dose was about 5%. He added that teams of school health nurses and data entry personnel has been allocated in 69 sites, including public and private schools and Institute of Islamic Sciences in Ad-Dahira Governorate, pointing out that the campaign will continue until 12th of next October. Another thing to celebrate amid the almost gone pandemic is the resumption of Friday prayers in the mosques. Worshippers were delighted to return to mosques for Friday prayers last weekend after being unable to do so for more than 18 months owing to the COVID-19 pandemic. Mosques were required to close for Friday prayers on March 15, 2020 as part of measures to stop the spread of the virus. On reopening for Friday prayers on September 24, 2021, they were required to operate at only 50% capacity with a number of preventive measures in effect. The Friday prayer rituals were performed by adhering to the time period specified, reported Oman News Agency. The mosque opens an hour and a half before the Friday prayer and closes 30 minutes right after the prayer session. The Friday sermon should not exceed 10 minutes and it must be limited to 15 minutes. Worshippers who enter the mosque have to show proof of being administered at least with 1 vaccine dose, either in the form of the Tarassud app or a printed vaccine certificate. Should there be a suspected case of COVID-19 in a mosque, the area must immediately be closed and the call center of the Ministry of Health should be alerted. With things easing and looking better in the Sultanate, other countries have also started easing travel bans, quarantine, and much more. We'll talk more in detail about it after this quick commercial break. Welcome back to TTV. You're watching Fighting COVID. Now, Canada has lifted a month-long ban on passenger flights from India and has already resumed the flights starting from today. The ban was put in place in view of the enhanced COVID-19 protocols. With Air Canada already resumed its flights from India on September 27th, Air India will be resuming its flights to Canada from September 30th. However, Indian passengers must have proof of a negative COVID-19 test from the approved laboratory at the Delhi airport. The report should be taken not more than 18 hours before departure. Moreover, Ireland has stopped its system of mandatory hotel quarantine for travellers arriving in the country as coronavirus curves continue to wind down in the Republic. Since late March, travellers arriving from a government list of designated states have been subject to a mandatory 2-week hotel quarantine, AFP reports. In fact, on Saturday, the Irish government said Health Minister Stephen Donnelly announced the removal of all remaining states from the list of states designated or the purposes of mandatory hotel quarantine with effect from today, which was September 25th. In a statement, the Health Ministry said the decision was based on the latest advice received from the Chief Medical Officer. The Health Ministry said that over the past 6 months, nearly 10,300 people have passed through mandatory hotel quarantine. Nearly 600 of those tested positive during their stay, the ministry said. Moving on, Vietnam's capital has further eased its coronavirus restrictions from last week, the government said, with new cases on the decline and the majority of its adult population partially vaccinated. Most construction projects have already resumed from Wednesday last week, authorities said late on Sunday, adding further easing would follow with average new daily cases down to just 20. So far, 94% of the capital's adult population of 5.75 million has received one shot of a COVID-19 vaccine, with the aim of completing second doses by the end of November, said Deputy Chairman of the capital's ruling People's Committee. The Netherlands has also ended social distancing measures on Saturday, replacing the restriction with a requirement to show a COVID-19 health pass to enter hospitality and entertainment venues. Known as the 1.5 meter society in the Netherlands, social distancing measures have been in place for the last 18 months. From Saturday, everyone aged 13 and above must show a health pass to enter bars, cafes, restaurants, as well as cultural venues such as theaters. Customers have to show they are fully vaccinated, have just tested negative, or have recently recovered from COVID. Customers aged 14 and above must also show ID, with employees instructed to scan their pass QR codes and compare the data against the ID. Lastly, France will double the number of vaccine doses it will send to poorer countries to 120 million, President Emmanuel Macron pledged on Saturday in a video broadcast during the Global Citizen Concert in Paris. France pledges to double the number of doses it is giving. We will pass from 60 million to 120 million doses offered, the president said. If you all remember that last week, the US also announced that it would be doubling its donation of vaccine doses, bringing its total contribution to 1.1 billion. President Joe Biden described the pandemic as an all-hands-on-deck crisis, adding we need other high-income countries to deliver on their own ambitions. The European Unions have committed to distributing 500 million doses. And lastly, China's President Xi Jinping, in a video message broadcast to the UN last week on Tuesday, pledged a total of 2 billion doses by the end of this year, repeating a figure already given by the Chinese authorities. Well, this was all from our Fighting COVID studio today. We'll be coming back again next week, so stay tuned and keep watching TTV.